We have an annual business meeting on the fourth Saturday of January, and that's the 23rd. The meeting will start at 9 o'clock in the morning. Everyone is welcome to attend. Members vote. At the meeting, we'll review 2015. I think that's always helpful to look back as we look ahead. We'll formally appoint a moderator. We'll approve a budget. We will approve the purchase of a generator, presumably. Last year we approved and was done the wiring necessary so that we could actually have backup power without extension cords here and there and everywhere. Now we just need something to power those receptacles that we put in. We're going to consider amending our bylaws to include a statement on marriage, gender, and sexuality, and also propose to adopt a facility use permit policy rather, and we will also consider other business that comes forward. One of those things would be actually to establish a committee that looks after the facilities of the church in a more robust way, so that we're actually planning ahead a little bit more. There are things that we need to do around here. We won't be able to discuss them in specifics at the annual meeting. They're just not planned out, but I think we have these things and we need to take care of them. I say these things, it's building and the parish house. And so we need to wisely spend and take care of those things. And so we're really to that. If there's anything else you'd like to consider or have considered, just please talk to me or Rusty or David, and we'll work that into, I guess, the agenda. I want to provide a little more detail on the need for the statement of gender, marriage, and sexuality. The Supreme Court's decision in June on same-sex marriage has implications for churches, and we're wise to understand and consider those implications. What the decision does is it forces states to recognize same-sex marriage even in those states where voters voted otherwise. It elevates same-sex marriage to a constitutional right under the federal Constitution. But while doing that, it did not create a test to know when this new right supersedes or trumps rights like religious freedom. So it's untested in the courts. We've probably heard the horror stories where Christian bakers, florists, innkeepers, and so forth have been challenged either by individuals or actually by the state for upholding a view with respect to their religious beliefs and providing services to people that just were in contradiction to their beliefs. We need to note that the decision as it stands right now does not take away our rights to hold certain beliefs, particularly those which have been long-standing, such as those regarding marriage and as being between one man and one woman. I participated this summer in three webinars that were put on by Church Mutual, who is the insurance company that basically does our property insurance here at the church. What does it mean for your church, and what can you do? The Association of Christian Schools International has also put together a lot of really good resources to I guess, help us in this regard. And both sources indicate that it's important that churches have bylaws that describe the authority used in matters of faith and conduct, and that those bylaws include a clear statement of where the authority for how we will operate, what that authority is, what it's based on. And we also should be identifying what our important beliefs are. The good news, in the preamble of our bylaws, we indicate that the ultimate authority for governance and operation is the Bible. The Scriptures guide how we behave and really have ordered ourselves and how we relate to one another. Many sections of our bylaws, if you were to look at them, and I'll have some copies available, actually have scriptural references to support where they come from and why they're there. But we don't have a section right now that describes marriage, gender, or sexuality. And so we're proposing to add one with scriptural references to clarify. And I just want to read those points so that we understand what we believe as a church, and what I hope we believe, what I think Scripture teaches at any rate. The first point, we believe that God wonderfully and immutably creates each person as male or female. These two distinct complementary genders together reflect the image and nature of God. Rejection of one's biological sex is a rejection of the image of God within that person. We believe that the term marriage has one meaning, the uniting of one man and one woman in a single exclusive union as delineated in Scripture. We believe that God intends sexual intimacy to occur only between a man and a woman who are married to each other. And we believe that God has commanded that no intimate sexual activity be engaged in outside of the marriage between a man and a woman. We believe that God offers redemption and restoration to all who confess and forsake their sin, seeking His mercy and forgiveness through Jesus Christ. Praise God. And the final point, and I think this is important for us to remember, is we believe that every person must be afforded compassion, love, kindness, respect, and dignity. Hateful and harassing behavior or attitudes directed towards any individual are to be repudiated and are not in accord with the Scriptures and the doctrine of the Deerfield Bible Church. So the issue is fraught in the public, I guess, with some pretty harsh language back and forth. We believe as a church that marriage is between one man and one woman, and that sex outside of that is sin, as defined in Scripture. That does not mean that we hate or protest or other things against people who hold other beliefs. We're to love them, extend grace, pray for them, and those things. But it is sin, as there is sin in at least my life, but in all of our lives. And so it's just important that we take this issue and keep it in proper perspective. The statement no way restricts or limits us in reaching out to people. It's to protect us from being compelled by a government to do things that are contrary to our beliefs. The last thing I just want to talk about is that we'll be considering a facilities use policy, which kind of dovetails with that, how our facilities can be used from time to time, though it's not often. We've allowed our buildings to be used by outside groups, and that facilities use policy makes clear what it is that is important to us, what our beliefs are, that the uses must understand and be consistent with our beliefs as a church, and that there are certain guidelines for people who would otherwise use the facility. Preferences given to members and uses that they might have, but nevertheless the standards for how it's used and taken care of will still apply. So if you have any questions about these things, please see me afterwards. I've actually spent a lot of time thinking and researching, particularly the matter with respect to our bylaws and that policy as well. I think rather not have a discussion here, but later, and certainly at the annual meeting, I'd just like to take some time right now just to pray as a church, pray for our worship service which follows, which I'm very excited about.
Scott, can you give thanks to the new baby that's...
Next week, thank you for reminding me, there'll be a packet of information that will have those things we're voting on, it will have a draft budget, it will have a summary of those things. And so you'll see the missions that we're actually supporting. But I didn't share because this is long, but Miguel DeMarco is planning to be here, I think, on Sunday, February 7th to join us, and his ministry is pretty exciting. Ed Fitzgerald has reached out to us and will be visiting us, I think, this summer for a time. Pastor Barry will be here. So some of that is happening, and we'll see that. So I'll have that next week for people.
Probably, Scott, you've got in that packet coming up for the end.
Really, as I understand it, empowering pastors in Wanda, as opposed to being there and leading that per se, but really empowering and teaching and equipping, which I think is really largely what is most effective. So let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, just thankful for this church, we're thankful for the country that we live in, Lord, that we have the freedom to gather here, and I pray that we never take that for granted. Lord, there are a lot of things coming up, just in terms of our church and activities. And Lord, as we go about our business of the day, I just pray that we make it your business, that you are mindful in those things, that we are mindful of you in those things that we do and take on, and how we take them on, and what we place a priority on. Lord, that they're your priorities that guide and shape us. Father, we just pray that you be glorified in our lives, and Lord, that if people were to look at this church, this gathering, they would see a unique and different and peculiar people, as it says in 1 Peter. Lord, as special people that extend grace to one another, that are passionate about their walk with you, Lord, and that are sharing their faith with others in meaningful ways. Father, we just commit this morning to you, and I so look forward to singing songs of brothers and sisters that I heard being sung as the musicians just warmed up in practice this morning. I'm just so excited, and I just pray your blessing upon that. I pray your blessing upon Rusty as he preaches your word to us. Lord, that your Spirit is speaking to us and empowering him this morning, that it's not anything that we do as individuals, Lord, but that your power is recognized in everything. We just thank you so much for all that you've done for us and will do. Commit the rest of this morning to you in Jesus' name. Amen.